Hey everybody, Jamie Starr here for the New World News Network. Today I wanted to do a video, because as I said, we're using this channel till the wheels fall off. We are on Odyssey though. It turns out everything's been ported over from when I signed up with them when they were library. Everything's over there. I've already made, what, like $50 in their cryptocurrency without even knowing. My music channels are over there, so that's great. The BitChute backup link doesn't really work, so I don't know, and that place just seems to be like Q Central, which I'm going to do a video on that because I think there's some big questions that should be being asked, like while the media is hunting down all the supporters, who is Q? I'm almost thinking it's Brennan or Clapper at this point, but anyway, that's a video for another day. Today I want to talk about this populist uprising. Focal point of this video, though, even though I think there's a sort of trifecta between Jimmy Dore, Alex Jones, and Tucker Carlson, who I have featured on the thumbnail. Maybe I'll do a three-part series. So let me just give some background here. Tucker Carlson has, especially during the Trump time, him and Alex Jones talk behind the scenes. They've done interviews with each other. They're both very much on both parties are fucked. They're screwing over the people, everything like that. Jimmy Dore, similarly. Funny enough, though, I think a Jimmy Dore-Alex Jones alliance with Tucker as the middleman is really like our not our last hope, but our greatest hope. And, it's funny because the whole Young Turks thing, when Jimmy spat on Alex, I think now they could let bygones be bygones and all that. But Tucker would have on Jimmy. Jimmy would bring his points, anti-war, this and that, and everything else. And the left, your Sam Cedar types and everyone else, they just bash him. And Jimmy, I really love Jimmy Dore a lot lately. He is left, but the left hates him because he's so anti-establishment. It's very similar to Alex Jones, where Alex Jones gets portrayed as right-wing libertarian, but more so, he's anti-establishment. Similar with Tucker Carlson, but so I've been wanting to do a video basically giving my praise to Jimmy Dore, and I would say at this point I think leftist sympathies would be the best way to look at it. I'm still a anti-establishment libertarian type. I think the government is incompetent, so as long as they're going to be incompetent, I would like them out of my way. That being said, they seem to be very competent in very evil areas. War, bullets, bombs, and fucking bailouts, basically. So when it comes to like money laundering and drug sales and all the criminal activities, well, they got that on lock. So, my leftist sympathies make me lean into this idea of like, I would be okay with, entertaining the idea of Medicare for all if we stop all the foreign aid. I would be okay with the idea, like, that's the thing, like, and that's how politics used to work. There used to be concessions, where it used to be like, okay, we can do your crazy social program, let's stop all this excess over here. And that's basically, and that's where I think some of these alliances can really be, Tucker Carlson has said Jimmy has won him over on the Julian Assange thing. That's one of the big things. They all support Julian Assange. Anyway, so this video. Jimmy and Alex both interviewed this Boogaloo boy, Magnus something or other. They'll get into his name. We're going to see a clip of the video. And everyone went wild on Jimmy for platforming. Platforming is a bullshit term. It's such a narcissistic, arrogant. Jimmy platformed the guy that was already making national headlines. Okay. It's such an arrogant thing. The guy he's interviewing, you can tell, like, he recommends Jimmy get deeper into Antifa circles. You can recommend that, or you can see that this guy is in too deep and just blinded by things. And there is a dynamic in this interview You can tell Jimmy is trying his best to be polite. But there's a toxic dynamic that, again, reminded me of Alex Jones, because the media and certain groups will take these issues where you can, it's essentially a scarlet letter, where you can just say one thing and then it's dead, done. No more questions, nothing to ask, no questions here. You don't need to know anything further. Alex Jones, they did it with Sandy Hook. That's all you have to say. Alex Jones, Sandy Hook. Hands off. Like, it is this landmine that just, and I mean, there were very suspicious, shady things around that incident. Whether you know, the picture of Noah Posner popping up in some Middle Eastern bombing mural as one of the kids. I've seen interesting things. Like, the interesting things aren't even really around the shooting. It's like the housing records. Like, I remember watching a thing where it was like a bunch of the people involved all moved into the area right around then and got their houses for free. I'm just going to tell you my little idea. And the worst part about this is, you know, being in New York, very close to Connecticut and where it all happened. So you always have this phenomenon of people wanting to be indirectly involved with a tragedy. So, you know, you could say, oh, well, you know, I think there's something shady going on here. And someone could say, well, how dare you? Because my second cousin twice removed had a nephew that was there and they, you know, are traumatized and this and that. And here's the thing about it. My honest opinion, because of the housing thing and the housing thing alone, and this isn't saying people didn't really get shot or something like that. What it looks like to me, from what I saw way back then, is you would have these like CIA, KGB type things. Let's use the KGB because it's sort of what they would do in the Cold War and stuff is they would set up in Russia American towns for their spies to live in, so that it basically, you get acclimated, so you're better at being undercover because you've been living in an American town. They show this in the media, in movies and stuff like that, where foreign nations will set up a town that is like mirrored image to another country, and that's essentially their training facility. Kind of seems like Sandy Hook, Connecticut is like one of those, that it's just a whole bunch of CIA spooks and all that. Now, that being said, CIA spooks have family members. They have kids that have to go to school. So, I mean, even with what I'm saying, you could have everyone there being employed by an intelligence agency, and one of the kids of one of these spooks got a little whacked out for some reason and decided to do something horrible. The narrative of what happened can fit into what I'm saying is the shady aspect there. But they just say, Sandy Hook, dead kids, don't question it, can't question it, it's done and over. Anyway, that's what we're going to see, that same dynamic of trying to be applied here to just shut this down. Jimmy's going to go easy, and this guy's going to be biting his tongue every other second to not sound like a complete douche. So let's get through this. I'm going to try not to make it take forever.
So everybody knows I did an interview with a self-described libertarian boogaloo boy, and I was unbelievably surprised at the stuff he was saying. Like, for instance, here it is. You're anti-war, you're for peace, you're against racism, you're against police brutality. What else? What would be some other big things?
Pro-sex work decriminalization, legalize all drugs, end all the wars, close the ICE detainment camps. Pretty much our core foundation is, if you're not a bigoted piece of shit and you understand that both parties are the problem and you're willing to do something about it and you're willing to get out in the streets and you're willing to make your voice heard, you're welcome. It doesn't matter where you come from or what you do. In that video, it doesn't show it, but I walked in, the woman standing next to me is a local BLM organizer for Lansing, Michigan, and I walked in with the local anti-fascist organization as well.
So you're not about hating gays, and you don't hate the gays?
Nope.
Okay. Well, I was told that.
Matter of fact, I'm not the most straight man myself, so.
So that was, my jaw was on the floor when I heard that guy say that stuff, because I had the exact opposite opinion of those people. I thought they were all racists, and they were all anti-gay, anti-Black Lives Matter for sure, I thought. But turns out he was saying the opposite, and I was called a white supremacist for just interviewing that guy. I was boosting him just because I interviewed him, because that's what corporate Democrats like to do. So this is from the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League. And what is the Anti-Defamation League? It's the leading anti-hate organization founded in 1913 in response. So there you go. So it's the leading anti-hate organization. And this is what, from their literature, this is what they say about the Boogaloo Boys. The Boogaloo movement is an anti-government extremist movement that formed in 2019. In 2020, Boogalooers increasingly engaged in real-world activities as well as online activities, showing up at protests and rallies around gun rights, pandemic reactions, and police-raided killings. The term Boogaloo is a slang reference to a future civil war, a concept Boogalooers anticipate and even embrace. The ideology of Boogaloo movement is still developing, but is primarily anti-government, anti-authority, and anti-police in nature. Anti-police. Most Boogalooers are not white supremacists, although one can find white supremacists within the movement. That's from the ADL. They say that. The Boogalooers' anti-police beliefs prompted them to participate widely in the Black Lives Matter protests following the killings of George Floyd by Minneapolis police. So that shocked me again, right? So people came at me, no, this guy's lying to you. I was told that guy was lying to me and that he's full of it and that I got duped. That's what I was told online. I was trended for 24 hours straight, probably longer. And it was all bad faith attacks because I dared to talk to a guy who was a Boogaloo guy that the ADL says are not white supremacists. So I was told that guy was lying to me. I was told that I was a dupe and that I was boosting. That's what the smear was, that I was boosting white supremacists. The exact opposite of what was happening. And so now I'm going to, so by the way, they were saying, oh, they're Trumpers. Those guys, why are you boosting Trumpers and racists? And the ADL says the recent history of the militia movement during the Trump administration has caused many Boogalooers to take a dim view of that movement. So they're not Trumpers. They're anti-establishment. And those right-wing militia, a lot of them were supporting Trump. So this is according to the ADL. That's not Jimmy Dore saying it. But again, people will twist this just like they did. And hopefully I'll trend again because of it. And then people will come watch the video and they'll see that all those bad faith attacks are bullshit. So I wanted to bring on an even more of an expert. I'm going to bring on an even more of an expert. Our guest.
Now, let's just make an inside friendly bet here. How long do we think till it goes off the rails?
He's a talented documentarian. His films include The War of North Dakota and Flowers for Peace. He spent 4 years making a documentary about the Proud Boys and Antifa called The Oppressed Majority. His latest movie is called 2020, The Dumpster Fire. He's actually on the ground with social movements. I welcome his insights. It's Rod Weber. Hey, Rod, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, Jimmy?
I'm doing fantastic. Now, you personally yourself have interviewed lots of Boogaloos. Now, you saw the interview that I did. He said he was anti-police brutality, anti-war, anti-ICE, anti-corporate control of the state, and pro-LGBT and pro-Black Lives Matters. How representative do you think that guy that I interviewed is representative of the Boogaloos?
Well, I should correct you on one thing there. I've interviewed a lot of Proud Boys. The Boogaloo thing is a little bit newer, and while I have interviewed some of them, it depends on who you ask. There's definitely some left-wingers among them, but if you look to, say, Unicorn Riots, leaked chat from Discords, you can hear them in their own voice, very many of them saying all kinds of racist things. So I have to say that there is some merit to what people are saying.
Now I just want to throw this in. I don't know what they've said. But my position, and I'm not advocating. I have a very diverse mixed race family. Jamaican, Puerto Rican, whatever. That being said, racism is a thought crime. So, I mean, as long as you're not enacting it in some way. This guy, obviously, again, is a, in with Antifa. So, presumably, his definition of racism is vastly different from most people or the dictionary or reality. So, I'm just going to act in good faith and assume it was probably just people making jokes.
First and foremost, I would even say you need to start talking more shit about Tucker Carlson and his rants about his white nationalism.
What? Where did that come from? What? You'll see, Jimmy. Push back.
Talking shit about Tim Pool.
Rod.
You should be talking shit about Tim Pool. Like what? I mean, let's just run this back because you can see Jimmy's just having none of this.
Well, I should correct you on one thing there. I've interviewed a lot of Proud Boys. The Boogaloo thing is a little bit newer, and while I have interviewed some of them, it depends on who you ask. There's definitely some left-wingers among them, but if you look to, say, Unicorn Riots, leaked a chat from Discords, you can hear them in their own voice, very many of them saying all kinds of racist things. So I have to say that there is some merit to what people are saying. I mean, first and foremost, I would even say you need to start talking more shit about Tucker Carlson and his rants about his white nationalism. You need to be talking shit about Tim Pool.
Rod, don't do that. We're not talking about fucking Tucker Carlson. We're not talking about shit I should be doing. We're talking about this fucking guy and the Boogaloo Boys.
And that right there, what that guy just did, is how you keep division going. He just basically went to Jimmy Dore and said, Jimmy Dore, why aren't you Sam Cedar? That's basically what he did. Is he said, why aren't you just attacking people, Jimmy? And we'll get into how these people dig for things to attack.
I'm not what the fuck are you doing?
Okay,
can you talk
look,
about
he's even shocked.
I asked you about the Boogaloo
So
Boys.
what are you doing?
What I should be doing with Tucker Carlson?
I love this.
Rants about his white nationalism. You need to be talking shit
Rod,
about Tim Pool.
Rod, don't do that.
Look, let's hold on. This is great. I'm a big fan of facial expressions, and when you can tell, like, because it reveals so much about people's emotions. You can tell when people are lying. AOC's I almost died. You can tell she's lying. When she said I feared for my life, she started to giggle and laugh. This guy, when he's saying you should be talking shit about Tucker Carlson and Tim Pool, like you can see him get giddy and then go, because no one's ever been like, what the fuck what's wrong with you? Like, are you retarded?
Leaked a chat from Discords. You can hear them in their own voice, very many of them saying all kinds of racist things.
Why'd you go from giddy to shocked?
I have to say that there is some merit to what people are saying.
Smiles.
I mean, first and foremost, I would even say you need to start talking more shit about Tucker Carlson and his rants about his
smiling
white nationalism. You need to be talking shit about Tim Pool.
Rod, don't do that. We're not talking about Tucker Carlson. We're not talking about shit I should be doing. We're talking about this fucking guy and the Boogaloo Boys. I'm not talking. What the fuck are you doing?
Oh.
Okay.
Can you talk about what we're talking about? I asked you about the Boogaloo Boys, and you start telling me what I should be doing with Tucker Carlson. What the fuck?
Well, then let's go directly to his Twitter threads.
No.
And all the stuff.
Dude.
What about all this
dude,
stuff
I'm
from
asking
Magnus
you,
talking about his support of Kyle Rittenhouse?
Dude, I'm asking you.
And there it is, the scarlet letter. Kyle Rittenhouse, and there will be nothing more beyond that said. It'll just say, what about Kyle Rittenhouse? In the same way, Alex Jones. Well, what about Sandy Hook? And it's just supposed to stop there. And it's insane because we will get through this. And Jimmy presses him on this. What if we're working on this issue? What if we're working on the next issue? And he just says, well, Kyle Rittenhouse, platforming and this. And I mean, what I thought of when I heard this is like the O.J. Simpson case. It'd be like if you had me and someone else, and I'm like, hey, I'm anti-war. You're anti-war? Okay, cool. I'm anti-establishment. You're anti-establishment? Oh, we think Apple should stop using slave labor? I think Apple should stop using slave labor. Oh, we're against the 1% and, you know, these intelligence agencies running these protest movements to create false opposition. You're against it too? Well, what's your case? What's your take on the O.J. Simpson murder? Because that's a real deal breaker for me here. You know, if you have an opinion on whether OJ really killed his wife, if the glove fits, well then, hey, I can't, and to make it even more of a thing, I mean, this guy is a fucking pussy. Jimmy calls him it and calls him a coward because this guy's like, well, I talked to him privately, but I wouldn't do it publicly. Oh, so you're duplicitous. That's what you're saying. You're fine with all these people going out to a bar, grabbing drinks with them and everything like that, but don't let anyone know that you do that. Let's not give the appearance of unity. We need to keep up the appearance of division. Yeah.
About the Boogaloo Boys and what you know about them.
I'm going to grab a drink and let this keep going.
What the ADL is saying is correct. Is what the ADL saying, is that correct?
What I know about this particular Boogaloo Boy, Magnus Panvidya, in his own words on Twitter, he's talking about his support of Kyle Rittenhouse, and it's a hill that he's willing to die on. When asked whether he's left or right, and whether BLM is more important than what happened with Rittenhouse, he says, he'll die on that hill, the Rittenhouse hill, and he says, I choose both / shrug. I mean, there is some merit to what people are talking about.
Okay, so that guy in particular, you're saying that guy in particular is a defender of Kyle Rittenhouse.
Correct.
Okay. All right. And so and Kyle Rittenhouse was the guy. Was it Wisconsin?
Yeah.
Where was it? Wisconsin.
Kenosha, Wisconsin.
And
the Kenosha shooter.
Yeah. And who did he kill? Who did he kill?
Well, he killed 2 people and he maimed one guy's arm, a BLM medic.
Okay.
So I mean there's legitimate problems with this guy. I mean, I don't want to tell you what you need to do. But
No. Let's talk about so when that guy came on, you think he was bullshitting me?
I think that he was not telling the whole truth about who he was.
Oh, okay. All right.
Because, I mean, let's... Not telling the whole truth about who he was. Oh, because he has an opinion on something that to you is a make or break. Could you imagine operating in this manner? Where it's like you just go around and you have like a question where it's like, well, I can decide from that if you're good or bad. What's your opinion on abortion, or on this, or on that, or the next thing?
I believe that he's a left libertarian in many ways, but left libertarians certainly support Duncan Lemp and Kyle Rittenhouse. And the Kyle Rittenhouse support is problematic to a lot of lefties. It's like saying, oh, we're going to get together with Charles Manson. Oh,
yeah.
Okay, but
Now, I don't even want to get into the details of the Rittenhouse thing, but we'll just talk basics. Kyle Rittenhouse went to a protest to protect buildings, to give medical attention because he's a trained lifeguard, so he knows CPR, and I mean, he had on medic gloves. There was a scuffle, and he ended up shooting someone. It's a self-defense argument. But I mean, still, to think that this is your make or break is just insane. Like I said, to me, it's like the O.J. Simpson thing of being like, oh, well, your opinion on the O.J. Simpson case decides X, Y, and Z of how I view you. And it's like, what's wrong with these people that their views on someone are based on their views of someone else? You see what I mean? Like, it's this weird transference thing where it's like, it's just pathetic.
Okay. That makes sense, Rod. That makes sense. Yeah, I would have a problem with that too. Yeah, that's a big that's a big problem, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
For sure.
So
See, now, I will say, I do wish Jimmy pushed back on him on this and said, what is it about this Kyle Rittenhouse thing that makes it this such a big... I mean, this is what I hate about the government first and foremost, is with every bit of money they take from everyone, and then they're justifying their distribution of it, it then invites everyone to be involved in everyone else's business, and that's one of the big things that really worries me about the socialized healthcare thing. And I hear these sort of naive progressives come to me and say, oh, well, if everyone had health care, then people would take better care of themselves. And you see this in England, where it's like they kind of try to low-key shame smokers and fat people because they're like, well, you're choosing to ruin your life and your health, but we all have to take care of you because the NHS and this and that. And it's I was talking to my boss one day, who's absolutely great. I mean, I know I've said this before, but I can't say this enough. I love the people I work for. I love that the people I work for support me having my opinion out there and everything like this. I love that they're all self-made. They are the greatest people. But I was talking to my boss about this one day, and he brought up that idea. Because, again, we hear these ideas, and on a surface level, they sound great. But then I said to him, in what other context does this work? In what other context do you just give someone something for free that they didn't earn, and they treat it like as if they earned it and worked for it? And I said, most times it gets taken for granted. I said, in actuality, you would probably have people give less of a crap about their health and well-being because they'd be like, well, I'm insured. I have insurance. Why would I worry? I can go to the doctor whenever. And he was like, you know what? You're right. I said, yeah, it's like a spoiled kid that's had everything given to them their whole life. They act like a dick.
So then what do we do? What do we do when a guy like that shows up with someone from Antifa and Black Lives Matter and claims all the things he claims? What do we do with that guy?
We Google out whatever one single reason we can find to have a problem with him. Because that's what this guy did. We find our red button issues and we start searching their name and the red button issue until we find something. And that's what he did.
You've talked to those guys.
Well, I'd say it's on a case-by-case basis, and what we need to do is vet them more, before putting them out on the internet, to tons of people, to let them just say what they want to say unchecked. I think a lot of people had a problem with you not pushing back on these particular issues. When Boogaloo comes up, the first thing that I'm looking up is I did a cross search of Magnus Panvidya and Kyle Rittenhouse. Boom, there, it's coming right up. And so what their
and even Jimmy gets into this. Why would you? How would you? Like, you're digging, you are searching, you are reaching.
Problems are.
Yeah.
Because these are common issues. It's a thread that is ongoing with these kind of folks.
So when you would so we saw so I saw a video of him calling for unity, and so we reached out to him to interview him. And I interviewed him, and my jaw was on the floor.
It's just so Jimmy is trying so hard. Jimmy is like, we're trying to do unity over here, and you are just reaching and searching for reasons to say no. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, and so a lot of folks,
and then a lot of folks say, no, Jimmy, that guy's lying to you. So then I go to the ADL and I look up the ADL, and they say, no, that guy's not lying to you. They actually support Black Lives Matter, and they're not racist. So, but then you say that on Twitter he supports Kyle Rittenhouse, so that's problematic.
for me, that's a deal breaker.
Okay.
And you know, a lot of these left libertarians are for gay pride, LGBTQ issues, but on the other hand, then they're for Kyle Rittenhouse.
And so when you
that's the
say
mind-
it's
Look at they're for Kyle Rittenhouse. I mean, the giddiness that this is the problem with politics. And it is not. Imagine because everyone wants to LARP like it's World War II. Imagine you're a British soldier in World War II. You've just been bombed by the Nazis. And imagine you're like, well, they support Hitler. We got to take them out. They're in support of Hitler. I mean, I hate it. I hate this fucking gleefulness in which these people are divisive. They revel in it. And Jimmy's trying to be like, this guy stands with us on 99.9% of the issues. Okay, he has an opinion about one dude somewhere, sometime, about something that happened. That's the same thing I said about George Floyd. Oh, some shitty thing happened to some dude somewhere that I don't know and have nothing to do with. It's not my business.
a deal. So when you say it's a deal breaker, what does that mean?
Well, that's personally for me, and I think a lot of other.
But what deal
lefties,
does that break? What deal does that break? The deal that you'll talk to them, or the deal that you'll work with them on common interests? Does that break that deal?
No. On me platforming them. I mean, that's it's something where I will push back hard. If I'm going to put something like that in a documentary, I'm going to.
That's a problem too. This is basically even the problem that mainstream media has, and why no one takes them serious, because it's their job to push back. Documentary. You're supposed to document. I don't know where pushback is factored into documenting, but again, this guy I don't know if he said it yet to Jimmy, you need to get into this Antifa group and follow this person and get real deep into it and this and that. And then he's saying, well, we need to push back. Does he push back on Antifa? What are the red button issues that Antifa supports? I bet this guy can't name them. I bet the pushback only goes in one direction. And in that way, you're not a documentarian or whatever. You're a partisan hack.
I'm going to make sure that there's strong pushback against that.
So I should. So I should have that. I should probably have that guy back on, and you would say I should challenge him on his Kyle Rittenhouse affiliation.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, will do.
Yeah.
Okay, will do. So that's good. How would I even know to Google that? How would I even know to Google Boogaloo Boy? You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't, like, if I didn't, again, if I went to look up Boogaloo Boys and I went.
This is Jimmy nicely asking, do you realize you're fucking crazy? Do you realize you're reaching? Do you realize that this is a little fucking out there?
To ADL, it would say the opposite. And so I wouldn't, I've since seen that. People say, oh no, on Twitter, he's talking about Kyle. Well, how would I fucking know that before? And then you, of course, knew to put it in because you're the specialist on this stuff. But anyway, so all right, so that's a good so.
Yeah, well, I'd say that you just kind of need to be in some more anti-fascist circles. I'd say follow Daryl Lamont Jenkins, follow Anti-Fash Gordon, follow Rose City Antifa or Antifa, as some prefer to say. You just kind of need to have a point and counterpoint. While he's saying what he's saying, you need to hear the counterpoint from folks.
So while he's standing next to Antifa giving speeches, you need to find the Antifa members that would have a problem with him working with Antifa. Again, explain to me how unity comes about through this process.
Okay. That would be so when you say deal breaker, you don't mean deal breaker like I wouldn't work with someone like that on an anti-war, or I wouldn't work with someone like that on on pro-LGBT, or I wouldn't. Is that what you mean when you say deal? You just mean deal breaker like you would push back on that person when you interviewed him. That's what you mean?
Me personally, I'm a documentarian, so the deal that I'm making with any of these folks is we're sharing screen time. And so there would be strong pushback, and I would make sure that these things were made aware to the public if I was giving them screen time. As far as working with them, again, that's on a case-by-case basis.
Right.
For me, I don't think I could work with this guy, and I'm not really sure what he'd have to offer. He's not in a power position, really. And so this is one of the things that you're talking about all the time is, everyone at the top versus everyone at the bottom. Left and right libertarians talk about bottom unity,
Right.
Which is collaborating with the left and the right. But then going beyond that is...
Okay, so again, the guy Jimmy interviewed was on national news. This guy says he's not in a power position, so he doesn't know what he would have to offer and no reason to work with him. And then segues that into bottom unity, because again, like, am I the only one that this just isn't making sense for? Like, does this guy seem like he's twisting himself into pretzels to justify backing away from this guy while still seeming like he is representing and documenting some bottom uprising, but then saying, well, if they're at the bottom, he's not in a power position. So, like, what the fuck is going on here?
So what you call a red-brown alliance, which red being the lefties, brown being the right, and that's what you call a fascist alliance. And you don't want to go down the road of a fascist alliance. And
which, even that, I'm very baffled by, because it seems like a low-key admission that Antifa has fascist tendencies. Because where's this left-wing fascist group that they're going to align with these right-wing fascists? We were just talking about Antifa and the right coming to, now you're talking about two sides of fascism. Interesting.
A lot of folks see the support of Rittenhouse as beyond the pale, that you're engaging in a fascist alliance when you do that.
Again, the Scarlet Letter. It's just, well, Rittenhouse.
And,
well, Sandy Hook.
So that's great. That's good information. So what do you now? You've talked to Proud Boys more than Boogaloo Boys, because your research was prior to the formation of most of the Boogaloo Boys. What would you say? Like, so now, a lot of people just say you just have to write those people off, but other people say that you have to have a message for those people, because economic hardship makes people vulnerable to right-wing ideologies and extremism and demagogues. So I've always heard my whole life that it's important that the left has a message to reach those people so they don't go over to the dark side. And a lot of people are saying to me, no, you're not supposed to have a message for those people. You're supposed to write them off. Is that what you recommend?
With someone like this, if the...
That's a yes. If it takes you, yes, that's what you're saying. Again, twisted mental gymnastics, twisting himself from pretzels, smirking.
If they're doing support of Kyle Rittenhouse, it does seem beyond the pale for me. And there are those like Daryl Lamont Jenkins, who is better equipped toward bringing fascists and fascist ideologies and and deprogramming them.
So he again now is calling the pro-gay, pro-BLM, pro-Second Amendment guy a fascist. Which is, again, why no one takes Antifa seriously except this schmuck. Because it's, this term just gets tossed around willy-nilly. Like, we're not talking about fascist. We're talking about this guy.
Whether Magnus is beyond the pale, it's something like that. I couldn't tell you. It's a more specialized
so you don't have
compartment of
so Rod,
that I haven't gotten down that road.
So you don't have a message when you interviewed all those Proud Boys. You never came up with a message for them. You don't recommend anybody reach out to them with a specific message.
Okay. We're making a distinction between Proud Boys in the early stages, which were libertarians who basically were putting out the idea that they were for the Second Amendment. As things progressed, things became more fascist in their nature. The message message that I can.
Ugh. Here's the thing. I thought fascism, because I don't know, I grew up having to find words in this thing called the dictionary. Fascism to me was always a sort of public-private partnership with an authoritarian, rollout, whatever. Which I'm pretty sure we have with Biden and Facebook and all these other groups shutting everyone down and this and that. Like, I don't understand how the Proud Boys could possibly become fascistic in nature. It doesn't make sense. It just doesn't. Like, this word means nothing at this point. I don't know. The public-private partnership between the Proud Boys and who? How? Jimmy, please push back on this. What is he saying?
To a guy who's trying to punch me in the face is, hey, stop punching me in the face. You got to understand that the message, as you're saying, should be like what Bernie Sanders put out there. But Bernie Sanders betrayed everyone too, as you rightly pointed out all the time with this stimulus package. Betrayed everyone, and the U.S. government continues.
The message that should be put out is one of betrayal. What?
Betray everyone. So as long as the government keeps doing what it's doing, it's going to push people to the streets. It's going to push people towards both left and right anarchism, and the right anarchism ends up being these people who do all the shooting. How can you work with someone who's putting a gun in your face? Or
what are you talking about? All of the shootings. First off, when Kyle Rittenhouse shot someone, he was on the ground on his back. It's not like he was walking up to someone like... Hey, what is this guy talking about?
Or punching you in the face, or worse.
So Jimmy asked him, when you sit down to eat with a Proud Boy, what's your message to them to try to get them to see things from your side? And this guy goes, well, when they're punching you in the face...
Well, like what Fred Hampton did in Chicago. That's so. Like when Bernie Sanders goes on when Bernie Sanders goes on Fox News, the reason he goes on Fox News isn't to prop up right-wing fascists. It's to bring his message to right-wing fascists and to let them know that they have common interests and that it's us against them. It's not left-right. And do you recommend that message to the Proud Boys and all the people you've been interviewing, or do you recommend no message?
I would say that Fred Hampton wasn't working with fascists. Fred Hampton was reaching out to poor white folks who might have had conservative ideas.
Rod, they were racists. They were committed racists.
Committed racist is different from people, trying to shoot in the street.
Okay, where are these shootings in the street that this guy keeps talking about? I mean, what is he taught? Where did I miss something?
Rod, so again, why do you sound like a politician right now?
Yeah.
You sound like a politician. You don't want. It sounds like you don't want to give me a straight answer.
Yeah.
So when Bernie Sanders goes on Fox News and he brings his message that we have more in common and that you're being screwed by this system too, and that these ideas are good. Are you against that?
Bernie's fucking us. Bernie's fucking us too. The system is fucking us.
Okay.
I can't speak to what Bernie Sanders is thinking. Is it two homes that he wants to keep? Is his message truly going to reach people when he's got all that money, when he's got that power? I don't think so. How the fuck are you supposed to tell some poor people that Bernie Sanders has the answers for you? He doesn't, because he's fucking it up too.
So what would you tell those people?
I think I am answering straight.
What would you tell those people?
I would tell those people to work locally, because obviously at the higher echelons of government, we're losing control. The people in there are bought and sold by the corporatocracy. The best that you can do is work locally, to to do mutual aid. There's a lot of mutual aid networks that left anarchists are doing. The Antifa groups are going around making sure people have food, making sure people are sheltered, making sure people aren't getting kicked out of their homes. One of the big Antifa things that actually happened recently was the Red House in Portland, and they were making sure that this family didn't get evicted. So they're blocking evictions right now.
That story, that's not what went on there. People can look into that on their own. It's not that simple. And I think they have another house.
Now, because of the pandemic and because of the shutdown, we're beyond fucked, and people do not have that trust in the government. So it's beyond me to tell people what they should fucking believe in.
But if you believe in Kyle Rittenhouse, you know, it's beyond him. But the Kyle Rittenhouse thing, that's a deal breaker.
As far as the government goes, all I can say is that we help each other. That's what I would tell them.
But don't help Boogaloo Boys, and don't help. Who are the? That's what I'm trying to ask you. Who are the people when you say help each other? Who are those people? Who are the each other? Does that include that guy who was on my show, or does it not include that guy? So people who are victims of this economic downturn and the government, our fascist government. Who do you reach out to? Do you have a litmus test before you ask them if they need your help?
I believe that everyone should be getting that $2,000 stimulus, and that would include him.
Now, that's the biggest bunch of bullshit right there. This is the other thing that sent me through the fucking roof when I was watching this. And you can even see Jimmy. This guy just went on this whole, the government at the top is fucking us. They're bought and paid for. You can't even trust you can't even trust Bernie Sanders. Local. So Jimmy says, okay, well, would you help that guy? Would you help a right-wing boogaloo, whatever? And this guy goes, well, I think he should get a check from the government, from the top of the government, the federal government, the part that I just said was fucking us. Yeah, they should help him. Not local for him. No, the government at the top that I just, had horrible things to say about, they should be helping him. That's who he has to turn to. The people that don't help anyone, that I just established don't help anyone, that's where he should be getting his help from. I think he should get $2,000 from him. And by the way, this whole $2,000 thing, I live in New York. Not that I need it, but $2,000 is going to get you good for maybe a month, and we've been closed for almost a year. So even this whole $2,000 debate is stupid. It is them having people arguing over crumbs.
But I'm not necessarily going to try to enable him, going off and doing some shootings or
would you
some
try
of the
to do
militia kind of activities that he does.
Would you try to de-radicalize him?
Absolutely.
Well, that's so. What's your message to do that?
My specialty,
Rod. What would be a message to do that?
The message would be to bring him in with specialists, but I think right now we have to get beyond the pandemic. The pandemic has fucked everyone.
So this idea that you need a specialist to talk to somebody, I think, is a cop-out to that question.
Now, and let me just say, even if he was right, all right, so I saw a Vice thing the other day that recommended that basically said that, QAnon supporters, followers, whatever, are probably like 30 million people. How many specialists do you have? And how long is it going to take them to get around to 30 million people?
Because the next guest I'm going to have on is a black musician who got the Grand Dragon of the Ku Klux Klan to turn. And he said, I'm not a socialist and I'm not a psychologist. I'm a musician. And if I can do that, anybody could do it. And the way you do it is by engaging. You don't do it by labeling people as you can't talk to them. You do it by talking to those people, right?
Jimmy, I've sat down with guys from Resist Marxism, from Patriot Prayer. I bought them dinner. I have done all the things that you're talking about. But with each passing day, with each passing month, they seem to become more and more radicalized because of the pandemic. I'm not saying that it can't be done. I have literally tried myself. I sat down with Brandon Navam, with Joey Gibson. I don't know what to tell you. In my experience, it is very, very difficult. And if you can do it, absolutely, go ahead and keep pushing it and try to de-radicalize.
Now, let's also keep in mind, this guy's obviously Antifa. So his idea of de-radicalizing them is just really re-radicalizing them to the complete other side of the political spectrum. A normal person might think de-radicalizing them would be bringing them towards the center, or like Jimmy, a sort of populist who wants a good social safety net, because again, like I said in the beginning, and as he puts forth, our country is capable of spending billions of dollars on lots of evil things. If we could stop doing that, I'd be willing to see them spend billions of dollars on beneficial things.
Radicalize them.
The only way to de-radicalize them is to engage them. To not engage them. So what my next guest, his motto is fear. Ignorance breeds fear, and fear breeds hatred. And when we operate out of fear, that creates the ground for violence. And so the only thing that gets away from that is understanding and dialogue. And so I open a dialogue, and everybody wants to say I'm somehow a white supremacist or I'm supporting them, when I specifically said the opposite. I said I'm not doing that. And still people are saying that about me. And so what they're doing, Rod, they're making it toxic to talk to people. And so it would be helpful if people like you, who actually did a documentary on this, could try to take away some of that stigma, because you talk to many, many Proud Boys, and you have dinner, you're friends with Boogaloo Boys, right? And so if you could take away that stigma, that's why I really brought you on, to show that you've been able to engage with these people, you're friends with some of them, you've had dinner with them, and that they're actually human beings, and we need to have a message for these people to get them de-radicalized. But what you seem to be doing is still trying to keep it toxic to even talk to these people, even while admitting that you've had dinner with them, talked to them, and you're friends with them.
I'm talking with them privately. That's the distinction.
And there you go. So he's being useless towards this, is what he's saying. Because nobody knows what you do privately. He's being absolutely useless. And he, again, is like I said, this, how many specialists are there for 30 million people? Oh, well, one by one, you're just going to wine and dine them all? All right.
But so we should make it toxic to talk to them publicly.
For me, if I'm going to put them on a video that's live or otherwise, I need to put that hard pushback on the things that I find problematic, like the sport of Kyle Rittenhouse in the case of Magnus Panvidya.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of it.
Privately, I'd be happy to talk to him at length.
Okay. So I had no, I had no idea about the Kyle Rittenhouse thing when I interviewed that guy. I was just interviewing him and taking him at face value, and I was pushing back. I'm like, you're not anti-gay, you're not anti. So and then I also said I don't know anything about this group. I think it's helpful to bring people on platforms and have them talk. I think it's helpful to see that to see different people from the left and the right talk to each other, just to talk. It's super helpful. And this idea that we got to make it, you got to be afraid if you're gonna. I had a guy on said, "Oh, you're flirting with libertarians." The fact that we're making it toxic for Americans to talk to other Americans, right? We're in this moment now when our government is abandoning us, and we all know that there might be a civil war coming. It's more important now than ever to talk to people because of COVID, because we're all being screwed by the government. It's more important to talk to, it's called class consciousness. So what you don't recommend, I'm pretty sure, you don't recommend that some of our people in our same class we don't talk to, right? You don't recommend that, right?
I recommend that a lot of this talking be done in private. I'm not saying that there aren't ways to publicly do some of these discussions, but it has to be done in a careful fashion. And
so be scared to talk to people. I got it. You got to be scared to talk to people. You got to be scared because people are going to twist your words, and they're going to. So you got to be super scared. And let's make sure nobody talks to each other on air, so nobody gets to know what the other side's about. If you talk to a person, just do it one-on-one and never do it again. I disagree with that 1,000%. That's a bad idea. That's not. But so we'll disagree on that.
We definitely did.
Yeah. So it's super important to talk to people. And
you should.
And the idea that we should be afraid to do it on camera, is cowardly. So I'm not going to do that. It takes guts to do that.
I didn't say
takes
afraid.
guts.
That's your word.
What's
That's
that?
Your word. I'm not afraid to talk.
He's smiling again.
Those are your words there. I'm saying that it's not a good idea to put them on camera when we haven't researched them well and you're not giving pushback on the correct points.
All right. I think we've seen enough of this. I didn't want to make it an hour, but I know this is a half-hour interview. But I think that covers all the important points. And I think it really gives you a good sense of why I think Jimmy Dore is of immense value right now in this moment. Because you can see, he said, I think it's good to talk to these people, and we should talk to them publicly. You should know what the other side is thinking. And this guy, like Jimmy said, I thought I was going to have you on and that you were going to back me, that we should treat these people as humans, we should give them respect, and then all you're continuing to do is saying we need to keep this toxic. Again, what's this whole, oh, well, I'm going to search his name and Kyle Rittenhouse to see if he has an opinion about him. Why? Because it keeps things toxic. That's the MO. So yeah. That I don't even know what else to say about it. It all really speaks for itself, and it's really troubling. Again, I know this video, the thumbnail has him, Tucker, and Alex. I'll probably do other videos on one on Tucker, one on Alex. But this really just stood out to me when I saw it yesterday. And I, again, wanted to commend Jimmy for what he is trying to do. He's getting pushback from the left. And then you have morons like this that you can see is twisting himself into pretzels, trying to justify keeping everything toxic while portraying himself to do what Jimmy says we should be doing publicly. He's like, oh no, you can only be doing that in secret. You can't do that publicly. You have to do it in secret. And when you do it publicly, you have to search out reasons to make them problematic and all of this other nonsense about things that no one really should be giving a shit about. If you're not one of Kyle Rittenhouse's family members or one of the people he shot, why is it your business? So, anyway, check us out on echoscape.locals.com, I believe it is. I'll have a link below. That's the main epicenter of everything now. If you want to support us, you can support us on there. And yeah, take care, everyone. Have a good one.